Our story begins with Kelvin, a young man in his 20s, down on his luck, who awoke to find himself in an entirely new world, with no memory of his past life. He looked around in bewilderment, thinking to himself, where exactly am I? What is this city? And what are these strange sights I've never seen before? He remembered nothing, not even where he had been before being reborn. Suddenly, a status window appeared before him with a single word, start. He reached out and pressed it to see what would happen, and at once a voice spoke to him. Congratulations, you have been chosen to transfer to the new world. True, you remember nothing, but you agreed to come to this world before you lost your memories. Fear and confusion washed over him, for he had no idea what was happening. Yet the girl speaking to him introduced herself as the ruler of this world, explaining that this was a fantastical realm brimming with skilled swordsmen, powerful mages, and countless wonders. She also told him that he possessed abilities and skills he had chosen before his arrival. Kelvin began to examine his stats and skills, discovering that he possessed incredibly high abilities, and that his class was that of a summoner. A smile crossed his face as he said, "Looks like I'm a special player. Now I'm really starting to get excited." The ruler then said, "Go to the city. There is a guild where you can register as an adventurer." Kelvin followed her instructions and set out for the city of bars to register. The city was bustling with life, filled with markets and crowds of people. As he wandered through its streets exploring, the ruler added, "By the way, you will be able to summon me once you have enough magic points, but for now you are still too weak to do so." He replied simply, "All right." Kelvin arrived at the guild, which was teeming with adventurers accepting quests and registering their details. Without hesitation, he approached the guild receptionist and said, "I want to register as an adventurer." She handed him a registration form to fill out, but as he was writing, she paused him with a question. "Do you wish to set your class as a summoner, or do you have something else in mind?" She went on to explain that the summoner class was extremely rare, with only one in each city across the world, and that if people learned he was a summoner, he would quickly draw the attention of all the city rulers. Kelvin thought for a moment, then decided that would just cause too much trouble. He wrote down mage instead, concealing his true class. The receptionist prepared his membership card, officially registering him as an F-rank adventurer in the city. She explained, "Here at the guild, we receive requests from all over, and we assign them to adventurers according to their ranks. You can accept jobs now, but you must complete at least 10 quests of each rank before you can advance to the next. Once you reach rank C, you'll have to take an exam to test your abilities, so be prepared." She then presented him with 3 simple beginner-level quests. Kelvin hesitated briefly, but ultimately chose the first one, eliminating slime monsters. Taking a simple staff to aid him in combat, he left the guild, ready to embark on his very first adventure. Kelvin finally arrived at the forest, specifically to the place where the slime monsters dwelled. He quickly hid, unsure of what to do, when the ruler spoke to him. "Use the eye of appraisal on them quickly." Kelvin obeyed, and managed to obtain some information about them. Then the ruler startled him by revealing that his eye of appraisal was of rank S, capable of appraising creatures up to level 100, as well as items of rank S. Realizing this, Kelvin wasted no time and charged toward the slimes, but they slipped away from him, until he finally managed to land a powerful blow on one, sending it crashing to the ground. He was shocked. He had believed these monsters to be weak and easy to defeat. This forced him to think of a way to take it down, wondering whether he should use magic or not, but he decided to defeat it without magic so that he could form a summoning contract with it. Indeed, he continued attacking, but the slime displayed surprising skill, dodging his strikes and even landing a direct hit on him. Thinking quickly, Kelvin struck it with the staff he carried, reducing its strength by nearly half. Realizing the creature was close to death, he extended his hand toward it to forge a contract and make it his follower. The moment he did so, he felt his strength begin to fade. "What is happening now?" he demanded. The ruler replied, "You are now performing a summoning ritual. Contracts consume about half of your total mana." Kelvin, annoyed, said, "Why didn't you tell me this from the start?" But the contract was already complete, and the slime had become a part of his power. The ruler told him, "Give it a name." Kelvin named it Koloto. He summoned it afterwards, and it appeared before him in a new form, now with eyes and a mouth. Kelvin asked it to help him hunt the remaining monsters to finish the task with ease, and Koloto obeyed without hesitation. The two moved to another area to hunt. Kelvin destroyed one slime with his magic, while Koloto took down the other and absorbed its strength. Kelvin was astonished at the slime's power, especially after it absorbed the second one. "Can it evolve its power as well?" he asked. The ruler answered, "Yes, and you are the only summoner in the entire world whose strength is at least rank S. All other summoners are far weaker than you." As they spoke, Koloto continued eliminating the remaining monsters, swiftly completing the required number. Thus, Kelvin had successfully accomplished his first official quest as an adventurer. He returned to the guild, completed the formalities, received his quest reward, and then left for the city to find an inn. On his way, he noticed several girls locked inside cages, ready to be sold as slaves, among them, a girl from the elf race. He merely glanced at her and walked on. Soon after, he arrived at the inn, where Clear, the innkeeper, welcomed him and prepared a room for him to rest. Kelvin settled in for a short break before coming downstairs, where Clear had prepared a meal for him. He devoured it ravenously, ending his day in this way. The next day, Kelvin and Koloto continued completing quests from the Adventurers Guild, aiming to raise their level and reach higher ranks. Along the way, Kelvin gained many additional skills, collected a substantial number of upgrade points, and earned 100 skill points, as well as the rank D concealment skill, and many other abilities. Alongside the upgrade skill, which granted his follower the rank F absorption skill. After some time, Kelvin made his way to the Adventurers Guild, where the receptionist, Angie, greeted him with a broad smile and said, "Congratulations, you've been promoted." She then admitted she had been worried about him, as he had been taking on highly dangerous quests and completing them alone without a party. Even now, he had yet to form a team, fearing others might discover that he was a summoner. Besides, he already possessed a powerful companion named Koloto, so he felt no need for anyone else. Yet with his rapid rise through the ranks, other adventurers had begun to notice and watch him closely. Angie told him that his upcoming quests would be of a higher level, and it would be wise to acquire new gear and tools to aid him. He agreed, accepted his new mission from her, and left. Suddenly, a large-built adventurer appeared before him, saying, "You're Kelvin, the one recently promoted, right? Congratulations, my friend." He introduced himself as Kashil, an adventurer of rank D. Some of the adventurers nearby began whispering that he was lying, that he was actually rank B, and that he only pretended to be lower ranked so he could bully new adventurers. Kashil overheard their whispers and shot them a sharp glare, silencing them instantly. Turning back to Kelvin, he explained that his team was targeting the Black Phantom Knight, and he invited Kelvin to join them. Angie immediately intervened, objecting strongly and warning that the Black Phantom Knight was extremely powerful and far too dangerous for someone who had just been promoted. She advised Kelvin never to accept such a request. Kashil laughed and said, "Don't worry, we'll be with him and help him." But Kelvin refused the offer, replying coolly, "Someone as weak as me wouldn't be able to help you with anything." He then used his appraisal eye on Kashil, discovering that his stats were remarkably high and that his title was The Killer. Kelvin wondered to himself, was he planning to kill me? He then shifted the conversation, saying, "What do you say, Kashil? We compete to see who reaches the Black Phantom Knight first. I'll go alone, and you can take your team as you wish." Kashil smirked mockingly and replied, "Fine by me. If you insist, I'll be waiting for you in hell." Kelvin had proposed this challenge as a way to take advantage of the situation and test the new skills he had recently gained. After Kashil left, he met with his team, where his companion Cran said, "That kid Kelvin is stronger than I expected. My appraisal ranked him as C, yet I couldn't see his stats at all. That means he has a very high-level concealment skill." Then their massive teammate Raj spoke. "This time I've got a score to settle with Kelvin, right? Let me kill him first." Kashil replied darkly, "We've made a friendly competition. I just hope he can at least entertain me." That night, they all headed to the Castle of Spirits, where the Black Phantom Knight resided. The moment they entered the castle, they were struck with unprecedented shock. Every monster inside had already been slain. Kelvin had arrived before them and wiped them all out, now waiting for their arrival. Stunned, they asked, "When did you get here?" He answered, "The Black Phantom Knight is right behind this door, and our challenge was to see who would kill him first. But I've changed my mind. I don't want you leaving here. This battle is mine alone. Besides, you were planning to kill me, weren't you? Believe me, none of you will be able to do anything. I'll end you here and now." Kashil was taken aback, suspicion creeping into his mind. "Did the guild send you to arrest us? Or are you a bounty hunter here for the reward?" Kelvin instantly realized they were wanted criminals with bounties on their heads. He began provoking Raj to make him attack, and indeed, Raj charged like a bull, but fell right into a trap Kelvin had prepared. Kelvin unleashed his magic upon him, shattering him. Cran, terrified, tried to flee, but found Koloto in its evolved form waiting ahead. Koloto pursued him relentlessly, delivering a crushing blow that sent him slamming into a wall. At the same time, Raj tried to escape as well, but Koloto seized him. Kashil then rushed at Kelvin with his sword, only for Kelvin to crush him in less than a second. Kelvin decided he would hand them over to the guild after finishing his fight with the Black Phantom Knight. Entering the Knight's Hall, Kelvin found him standing, waiting. At once, Kelvin used his appraisal eye and learned the knight's name, Gerard, and that he was at level 53. A shiver ran down Kelvin's spine, and he changed his mind. Instead of killing him, he decided to form a summoning pact with him, just as he had done with Koloto. Inwardly, he thought, will my clan grow this easily? After Kelvin began speaking with Gerard, he discovered that the man was kind-hearted and cheerful, laughing and joking with him with effortless warmth. Then Gerard shared his story, telling Kelvin that he had once been the captain of the royal guard, and that now he served as the castle's protector. Yet the throne had long since been left empty, and there was no one he trusted enough to serve. With a sincere smile, Gerard added, I am willing to become one of your soldiers. But before sealing any pact, he decided to first test Kelvin's strength. A fierce battle erupted between them, a strike from here, a counter from there, until Kelvin managed to focus his magic on Gerard. In that instant, painful memories flooded Gerard's mind. He remembered a day when one of the elves arrived, sent by his king, with orders to destroy the empire. But the king whom Gerard served refused with honor, and for that refusal, everyone paid dearly. The elves cut off the city's food and water supply, and all its people perished from hunger and thirst. No one survived. Forced to leave, Gerard departed the city, taking with him a small girl named Connie. The two returned to their duel, and Kelvin unleashed his decisive blow, sending Gerard flying out of the castle. Yes, Kelvin was the victor. The day ended there, and on the following morning, Kelvin brought a piece of Gerard's armor to the guild clerk, Angie, as proof that he had defeated the Black Phantom Knight. The guild erupted in celebration, not only for his victory, but also because he had captured the notorious Kashil gang, now safely behind bars. After the festivities, Angie informed Kelvin that he had been promoted once again, and added that the guildmaster wished to see him. Without hesitation, Kelvin made his way to the guildmaster's office. Upon arrival, the man greeted him with a smile. It's a beautiful day, and I imagine you're eager for a new adventure, but you must take your rest from time to time, my friend. Now I understand why they speak of you so highly, that you are relentless and no one can best you. But let us get to the point. I am Leo, Guildmaster of the Adventurers Guild in the city of Pars, and I have a question that has long puzzled me. Are you from another world? Kelvin froze in shock at the question, and immediately used his appraisal eye, only to discover that Leo possessed a first-class appraisal eye, capable of piercing through his concealment skills. But how had Leo learned the truth? Leo led Kelvin into his private office, served him tea, and said, Angie told me what you did with Kashil, and how you defeated the Black Phantom Knight. And by the way, your new servant. I know you are a summoner. A wave of unease swept over Kelvin, and he thought to himself, I never expected to meet someone here with a first-class appraisal eye, like the sage. Seeing his unease, Gerard and the sage encouraged him, saying, You cannot remain fearful of being a summoner forever. You must reveal your true abilities. Kelvin smiled, regaining some of his confidence, and said, You must already know that Kashil and his companions were nothing but worthless criminals. So why didn't you stop them? Leo sighed in regret. I couldn't, my friend. Kashil belongs to a wealthy noble family, and he is from another city. Acting against him without proof would have been nearly impossible. But you provided that proof, and because of it, I was able to arrest him and throw him in prison. Rest assured, he will face justice. Kelvin nodded. Very well. Then why have you summoned me here? What exactly do you want from me? Reassuringly, Leo replied, I am not your enemy. In fact, I wish to be your friend. You see, I have met others like you before, from another world. Kelvin's eyes widened in astonishment. He now knew he was not the only one. Leo continued, These people are the heroes of the Daramus Empire. They were summoned after the priests foretold the imminent resurrection of the Demon King, a prophecy that has caused monsters to spread across the continent. That is why, Kelvin, I am asking you to protect this city from the monsters' attacks while the heroes prepare for their battle against the Demon King. And since this city lacks many strong adventurers, I will grant you any authority and support you require, my friend. Kelvin smiled with gratitude. Thank you so much for your help, but for now, I need some rest. He returned to the inn where Claire awaited him. Overjoyed at his new promotion, she proposed to celebrate in her own way, promising to cook his favorite meal, and handed him some sandwiches to enjoy in his room. While eating, Kelvin asked the sage about the other heroes who had come from another world. The sage explained that the priestess had summoned them some time ago, and that their levels were quite high. This made Kelvin uneasy. The coming battle against the Demon King was no trivial matter, but the sage reassured him, That is none of our concern for now. Focus on the task at hand, my friend. After that, Kelvin took the money from Kalato and descended into the city brimming with happiness. He was thrilled, for he had decided to purchase the elf girl who was being sold as a slave. In his mind, he kept saying, "I will bring this girl into my party. Surely she will aid me in the future." Indeed, Kelvin headed straight to the place where the slave trader stood. There, he found a man screaming in agony as flames devoured his body, the result of touching the very elf girl Kelvin intended to buy. The trader explained that this girl was a half-elf, and he had been unable to sell her because of a curse she bore. Anyone who touched her would find their body engulfed in fire. Kelvin then activated his appraisal eye skill and learned that her name was Ifil, and that she was afflicted with a curse known as the Flame Dragon's Curse. He asked the lady ruler what skill was needed to break it, and she answered at once. The solution was a blessing spell from high-rank white magic. Without delay, Kelvin gathered the necessary materials and returned to the trader, requesting to purchase Ifil. The trader initially refused, saying, "Did you not see what just happened? The girl is cursed. She will burn you if you touch her." But Kelvin replied coldly, "That is none of your concern." He handed over the gold, the deal was made, and Ifil stepped out to follow him. She walked beside him in silence before finally speaking with gratitude. "Thank you for buying me. You are the only one who dared to look me in the eye." Kelvin smiled, introduced himself, and said, "I want you to join my party, to fight by my side, not as anything else, but as a member of my team." Ifil lowered her head in sadness and began to recount her story with deep sorrow. She had been sold into slavery as a small child and did not know why she had been cursed. Tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. Kelvin moved closer to comfort her, but she backed away, fearing she might harm him. He ignored her warnings and reached out to touch her. The moment he did, the curse shattered completely. Her iron shackles broke apart, and he said with a warm smile, "From this moment on, you will suffer no more. You are free, you are safe, and you will harm no one ever again." Ifil could hardly believe what had happened. She wept tears of pure joy, thanking him over and over. Together they returned to Claire's inn, where Kelvin asked Claire to clean Ifil up and give her new clothes. Claire obliged, and when Kelvin saw her in her new attire, he was struck by her beauty. They all sat together for a meal, and Kelvin introduced her to the rest of the party. The atmosphere was filled with warmth and laughter. He then told her never to reveal to anyone that he was a summoner, and even shared some of his skills with her, an act that filled Ifil with happiness and gratitude. Time passed, and a full month had gone by since Ifil had joined Kelvin's party. During that time, they continued to complete quests and rise in rank. Ifil invested all the points she earned into growing stronger, and she learned the craft of tailoring, creating the outfit she now wore. An outfit that greatly enhanced her combat abilities. Kelvin himself had acquired the skill of blacksmithing and continued to train in it. Now, the party faced ferocious monsters. Ifil unleashed her new abilities, wiping them out with ease, while Gerard carved through enemies with his sword until not a single beast remained. They returned to the guild, where Ange welcomed them with great cheer. She told Kelvin this had been his 9th consecutive quest. Only one more remained before he could qualify for the Rank A promotion exam. She added that Ifil was now at rank C and closing in on rank B, then advised Kelvin to purchase some new weapons. He agreed, saying he would go tomorrow as it was getting late. The next day, Kelvin went down into the city with his party, heading for the shop. He was pleased that the lady ruler was not there. She had gone to send a message to the heroes. The shop clerk welcomed Kelvin, and they waited a short while until Ifil arrived, dressed in her finest, leaving Kelvin momentarily stunned by her beauty. As they joked together, the eyes of the townsfolk were upon them, including those of Prince Tibra, the prince of the military powerhouse city of Trison, located far to the east. The prince and his attendants mocked Kelvin for being poor and beneath them. Then, with a smug tone, he said, "If you wish to pass this night unharmed, hand over the girl and I will let you go." Kelvin did not answer. Instead, he delivered a crushing blow to each of the prince's guards, then walked steadily toward the now frightened prince, who stammered, "I am the Prince of Trison. Do you not know who I am?" Kelvin, utterly unfazed, replied with scorn, "You are only a prince to yourself, nothing more." He bound the prince with magic, then asked coolly, "And what is a prince doing here in the city of Pars? What business brings you here?" At that moment, the prince trembled in fear and said to Kelvin, "I have come here to meet Leo, the guildmaster, for I heard that a powerful adventurer has begun using the city of Bars as his base, and so I came personally to verify these rumors. If there is indeed such a strong adventurer, I will make him serve me, for I am weak and no one respects me." Kelvin immediately understood the reason for his arrival, and with a cold smile, he delivered the shock. "Do you know who the adventurer you speak of is?" "Yes, it is I." With a single, decisive motion, he slammed him to the ground until he lost consciousness. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Duramus Empire, the priestess Kole was speaking with the governor, her joy unmistakable. The governor inquired about the heroes, and Kole immediately revealed the magical crystal to reassure her. The governor was delighted to see them as their progress was evident. Yet she told Kole, "I sense a dark force approaching from the western continent. Send the heroes there and keep them as far from the city of Bars as possible." Then she departed. The heroes entered soon after, and the girl informed them of the governor's orders and their new mission. Later, the governor returned to Kelvin, presenting his statistics and details about the heroes. Gerard remarked, "These heroes are not very strong." Even Ethel observed that their level was quite low. Kelvin, however, had expected them to have surpassed level 100, considering they had arrived in this world almost a year ago. The governor added with a hint of concern that she wondered whether they could even face the Demon King, but she smiled and reassured, "It is fine. You have become very strong and will be able to confront them." Kelvin laughed and said, Yes, even my blacksmithing skill has greatly improved." As they conversed, Clear arrived, knocking on the door to inform Kelvin that Leo wanted to see him at the guild regarding an urgent matter. He went immediately, and Leo stunned him with the revelation. A demon of rank D has appeared in Diamus, and while the adventurers were exploring, they discovered a secret chamber in the cave. Kelvin was astonished. "How did they even return alive?" Leo explained, "The demon was sealed." Then he continued seriously, "Honestly, I am hesitant to ask for your help, especially since the strength of this demon is completely unknown. This mission may even be of rank S or higher." Kelvin was shocked and felt a surge of apprehension. Leo noticed his tension and pressed further. "By the way, I heard you met Prince Tebra before." Kelvin feigned indifference, replying, "No, I did not meet him." Leo chuckled slyly. "Rumors spread that a barbaric man attacked the prince, and I am struggling to cover it up so no international incident arises. Do you understand, my friend? So, will you accept the mission or not?" Kelvin accepted immediately. Due to what he had done with Prince Tebra, Kelvin gathered his team and journeyed to the Hermit's Cave in Diamus, where the demon had appeared. There, they met the adventurer Ord, who greeted them and informed them that they had set up a barrier around the hut containing the demon, enabling them to imprison and closely monitor it. Kelvin replied, "Very well, keep watch here. We shall descend to confront the demon." As they entered the cave, Eiffel used one of her skills, sending a lantern downward to illuminate the path. They proceeded deeper, eventually reaching the door of a chamber. Kelvin remarked, "I sense two living beings inside, one of whom is the demon we came to slay." The team felt a wave of apprehension, yet they entered the room to find a bound demoness, guarded by another demon. He spoke to them, "Greetings, dear guests. I am the main demon Victor, and I shall make you weep over yourselves, not over me." Kelvin could barely comprehend the magnitude of his power, but it only fueled his excitement. He declared, "I live for challenges. Come on, demon." Victor slammed the door shut, revealing that the bound girl was the daughter of the Demon King. Without further preamble, Victor leaped at Gerard, who barely managed to block the attack, and declared, "Yes, I possess the gluttony skill, allowing me to absorb the power of any creature I devour. When I consume humans, I acquire their traits and can transform into a human myself. I was once the assistant of the Demon King's daughter, but I betrayed her to devour her and become so powerful that I could ascend to be the new Demon King." Surprisingly, Kelvin was thrilled, exclaiming, "This battle is going to be exhilarating. I am so excited I can barely contain myself." Victor responded, "If that is the case, then come." Suddenly, he summoned soldiers from his army to attack Kelvin and his team. Instantly, Kelvin unleashed his magic upon the enemies in midair, obliterating a large portion of them, while Gerard finished off the rest with his sword, leaving none alive. At that moment, Victor unleashed a smoke bomb, and the mist spread across the battlefield. One by one, enemies began emerging from beneath the ground. With tremendous force, Victor lunged toward Jared, striking him with a fierce blow that nearly knocked him off his feet. Without pause, he charged directly at Kelvin, jaws wide, ready to bite and devour him. He was mere inches away from success, until at the very last moment, Kelvin heard the boy's voice calling out to Koloto, Kolodo appeared suddenly, clinging tightly to Victor's arm and draining his magic. At the same time, Kelvin cast a binding spell that shackled Victor's arm, immobilizing him, while also imbuing Jared's sword with power to strengthen his strike. Yet to their shock, Victor only sneered, unfazed. A cold smile spread across his face as he mocked them. "You've already lost, fool." Suddenly, his hand materialized behind Kelvin, poised to stab him, but Kelvin was ready. From behind, Evil emerged and unleashed a blazing arrow that struck Victor's arm, turning it to stone. In that instant, Jared charged forward and cleaved the petrified limb with his sword. Victor staggered back in disbelief, stunned by what he witnessed. "So, you really are strong," he muttered, his eyes narrowing. "Very well, now I'll show you my true power." He vanished from sight and in a heartbeat reappeared, transformed into a monstrous, towering entity beyond description. The team gasped in unison. What is this power? But they did not falter. United, they launched a coordinated assault. Yet Victor blocked their every strike with ease as he advanced. In one pivotal moment, Jared stepped forward, bracing himself. With all his strength, he raised his shield against Victor's devastating blow, but the sheer force was overwhelming. The impact drove him to his knees, the weight too much to bear. Still, Evil's voice rang out, urging him on, igniting his resolve. Jared rose again, mustering every ounce of courage, and struck Victor with all the strength left in his body. Now Victor found himself encircled, besieged from every side. Even Kolodo reappeared, firing cursed arrows that pierced through the giant's defenses. At last, the three combined their might and delivered a final crushing strike. Yet to their astonishment, Victor made no attempt to dodge, for behind him, bound in chains, stood the daughter of the Demon King. A massive boulder collapsed upon him, and Victor fell to the ground, his body shattered. Kelvin stepped closer, his eyes cold and unyielding. "Weren't you planning to devour the Demon King's daughter from the start? Why did you lie?" Victor's voice came weak and broken. "If I hadn't said that, you would never have fought me with all your strength. Listen, before I depart, I'll tell you everything." With labored breath, he began. "Long ago, I was the right hand of the Demon King. I was the one entrusted with training his young daughter. Her father kept her locked away inside the castle, terrified that his enemies would use her as his weakness. She lived with me there in silence, until the day the castle was attacked and utterly destroyed. In his final moments, Gustav entrusted her to me. He cast upon her a seal of immense power, one that no demon could ever break, for only humans, whose essence differs from ours, could undo it. And so she remained bound beneath that seal. When Gustav died, the magic was triggered, and his daughter, Sarah, was cast far away, where she has remained to this very day. And now, Kelvin, I beg you, take Sarah into your party. I know you are strong, your companions trust you, and you alone can free her from this curse. Believe me, she has heard everything that was said here today." With those last words, Victor exhaled his final breath and fell silent. Kelvin stood still, reflecting on the weight of his dying wish. At last, he stepped forward and shattered the seal. Slowly, the Princess Sarah opened her eyes. Tears flowed uncontrollably as she cried out for Victor, consumed by grief and loss. Kelvin gently lifted her onto his back and carried her out of the dark cavern of Demas. At the entrance, Ord awaited them. Kelvin told him plainly that the demon had been defeated, and Evil handed over a fragment of the demon's body as proof. Ord's eyes then fell on the girl clinging to Kelvin's back. "And who is this?" he asked with suspicion. Kelvin replied swiftly, concealing the truth. "She is the demon's daughter. He had taken her captive, and I will bring her with us for her protection." Ord nodded. "Very well, my friend, then let us return to the guild." And so they went back. At the guild, the clerk and all the adventurers greeted them with overwhelming joy, celebrating their victory. Cheers rang out as Kelvin was honored with a promotion to the first rank, the first to achieve such a title in many years. Laughter, music, and revelry filled the night, until exhaustion overtook them all, and they fell asleep amidst the celebration. Yet deep into the night, Kelvin awoke. He stepped outside and found Sarah standing alone beneath the moonlight, whispering softly to herself with a heavy heart. "Victor, the human world is frightening, yet it is far more exciting than I ever imagined. I want to see the ocean. I want to climb the mountains. I want to choose my own path. I want to explore this vast world. I want to live a life better than the one I had before, and I am certain that I will find my place in this world, my friend." Kelvin listened in silence, a gentle smile forming on his lips. His heart swelled with quiet joy, knowing that at last he had opened the door of hope for her. And so, their day ended on that moving and unforgettable scene. The next day, Kelvin Kelvin gathered his entire team. His blacksmithing skill had reached rank S, and he feels tailoring skill had reached the same level as well. For that reason, he brought them all together to provide new weapons that would aid them in battle. Time passed, and Kelvin successfully equipped his companions with extremely powerful gear. After everyone had rested, Kelvin turned to them and said, "Today we shall leave this city and head toward another, known as Toraj. From this moment on, I have decided to travel across the entire world and see more and more of it, so that Sarah too will have her share in exploring this world, just as I promised Victor before he passed away." And so they set out on their journey. Along the way, Gerard asked in surprise, "Isn't the ruler with us? Where has she gone?" They recalled that some time ago the ruler had told them she would use one of her incarnations and grant herself a short vacation, which is why the team traveled without her. As they continued, Sarah said anxiously, "Kelvin, I feel as though someone is watching us." Not long after, a group of bandits appeared, blocking their carriage. The younger members were frightened, for these were the most infamous bandits in Toraj. Kelvin realized their threat, but did not hesitate. He used his appraisal eyes to check their levels, discovering that they were only in their 20s, far weaker than him. At that, he ordered Sarah to attack. She stepped forward, and with a single strike of her hand, sent one of them flying. The leader froze in terror at her strength and ordered her men to rush at Sarah, but she deflected all their blows, each of her strikes enough to bring one of them down. Soon their leader collapsed to the ground, trembling in fear of what she had witnessed. In the end, all the bandits were bound, and Kelvin felt relieved when the captive girl revealed that their true leader was far stronger. Afterward, they entered the city. Sarah was overwhelmed with joy, marveling at the beauty of the sea and the breathtaking scenery. They then proceeded to the Adventurers Guild, where they met the guild master, who thanked them for capturing the bandits that had been endangering the city. Then, one of the staff turned to Kelvin and said, "Are you Kelvin, the first-rank adventurer? Is that right? Leo has spoken of you many times." Kelvin was taken aback by her words, and she continued, "I was part of his team 20 years ago." Yet she quickly shifted the topic with a serious tone. "But let us set that aside. We are in grave trouble and need your help. The leader of that gang has been abducting girls and selling them as slaves. The problem is that their commander is an immensely powerful hero named Kristoff, and no one can stand against him." Hearing this, Kelvin's excitement ignited, especially upon learning that Kristoff was level 70. With a confident smile, he said, "That sounds thrilling. This will truly stir my blood for battle." He immediately accepted the mission and told the staff member, "Do not worry, leave it to me." She then assembled a group of heroes and handed them the task. That very night, the gang kidnapped several girls and chained them in captivity. When their leader tried to assault one of them, he suddenly failed, for Kelvin and his companions had already arrived at the scene. The moment he recognized them as the ones who had captured his men, he could not even catch his breath before Gerard struck him with a crushing blow that knocked him unconscious instantly. At that same moment, Kristoff was gathered with the other gang leaders, discussing the arrest of many of their men. While they spoke, the door burst open, and their comrade was thrown unconscious before them. Shock swept through the room. Before they could even grasp the situation, Kelvin and his team stormed in, attacking the leaders directly. Kristoff knew it was they who had destroyed his men, and his own blood boiled with fury, eager for revenge. But Kelvin caught him off guard with a mocking smile and said, "Don't get too excited. To me, this battle is nothing more than washing the dishes before the main course." Then he lunged at him with full force. Meanwhile, another team of heroes summoned by the guild staff had arrived. Before they could engage, their leader asked Cecily to use her detection abilities to locate the enemies. She discovered a large group of people gathered in one place, and they rushed to the chamber where the kidnapped girls were imprisoned. There, Toya moved to protect them, but in his haste, he attacked Koloto, thinking him an enemy. Yet the girl Koloto had just saved cried out, "No, he is the one who rescued us." Toya then reassured them, saying, "Do not be afraid. You will all return safely. I am Toya, hero of Doramus, and I will protect you." The girls rejoiced, running to him with tears of relief. Minutes later, the rest of the adventurers entered the chamber, only to find Kristoff and the other leaders lying on the ground, bloodied and defeated. Terrified by the sight, they assumed Kelvin and his companions were the true criminals and were about to strike them down. until Toya and the other heroes intervened at the last moment, introducing themselves to Kelvin before the clash could erupt. This is Cecilia, the swordswoman, Nana, the healer, and Mayim, the sorceress. Afterward, the kidnapped girls were rescued and safely returned. The guildmaster announced that Kristoff and the rest of the gang had been captured and would face the harshest punishment. She then warmly thanked Kelvin and his companions and asked him, "Where will you go now?" Kelvin answered with a determined smile, "I will continue my new adventures. I will travel the world to fulfill my dreams. I wish you all a happy life in this city." Then he bid them farewell and departed. After that, Kelvin went to bid farewell to the other heroes, gifting each of them a necklace he had crafted himself. These necklaces greatly amplified magical power and possessed a hidden ability he had yet to reveal. Tuya was overjoyed with the gift, thanking Kelvin warmly before departing with the others on their ship. Once they had left, Kelvin spent a short while speaking with his companions when, suddenly, Sarah appeared, giving him a playful shove as she told him that the guildmaster had summoned him immediately. Overcome with joy, Kelvin realized that at last he would enter the Queen's palace, where he could finally indulge in the food he had long yearned for. Without hesitation, he set off at once with his party. When they arrived at the Queen's residence, Kelvin was astonished by its unusual design. Gerard explained that he had heard the original owner came from another world, which was why the decor was so unorthodox. Setting aside his curiosity, Kelvin entered with the others. When they reached the Queen, she thanked them sincerely for defeating the Wind Gang and liberating the city from their tyranny. Turning to Kelvin, she said, "Since you saved the girls, I want you to ask for whatever you desire, and I shall grant it to you as a token of gratitude." Without the slightest hesitation, Kelvin requested a grand feast, for he had long been deprived of food that truly satisfied him. The Queen laughed at the simplicity of his wish compared to his great deeds, but agreed immediately. She ordered a splendid banquet and ensured their comfort, filling Kelvin with immeasurable happiness. Time passed quickly, and soon the moment came for their departure. The Queen personally escorted them to the teleportation gate, which only those with a special permit could cross. Kelvin, confused, asked how they would pass through since he had no such permit, but the Queen reassured him that she had already arranged everything he would need. Deeply grateful, Kelvin thanked her and led his companions through the gate, returning straight to the city of Bars. There, he decided to purchase a grand mansion where he and his team could live together. He found a luxurious estate that delighted everyone, and they roamed joyfully through its halls, marveling at its beauty. That night, as Kelvin retired to his room, he suddenly sensed the arrival of the sage. He asked why she had taken so long, and she apologized, explaining that she had needed more time to manifest once again. Kelvin then summoned her properly, and for the first time, she revealed her true form. Her beauty was breathtaking beyond words, leaving Kelvin stunned. On the spot, he chose to name her Laura. Thus their day came to a close. The next morning, Laura joined them at the table, savoring the food with delight. She told Kelvin with genuine surprise that she had never imagined he would purchase such a palace, and confessed that she had searched for him tirelessly at the inn before finally finding him, only to be astonished by his bold decision. Gerard then asked curiously, "And who is this beautiful young woman?" To this, Laura introduced herself. "I am no stranger to you. My name is Laura. Kelvin summoned me yesterday. I am the sage you have been speaking with." She then turned to Sarah to apologize, admitting that she had been the one who summoned the hero responsible for killing her father. But Sarah responded gently, "Do not burden yourself with guilt. My father was at fault from the very beginning. You must not blame yourself." Laura was moved by her words, and her heart lightened as she joined the others in eating sweets, chatting happily with Kelvin. Then she told him that she wished to reward him for summoning her. She traced a glowing golden star in the air, which sank into Kelvin's body. That star bore two extraordinary gifts. The first, granting him once each month immunity from a fatal wound that would otherwise have killed him. And the second, the ability to summon heroes. Kelvin's heart overflowed with joy, and he thanked her deeply for such a gift. Time flew by as the group continued their training, and Laura grew closer to Kelvin. One day, while eating chocolate beside him, she asked if there was something he wished to know. Kelvin admitted that a question had long weighed on his mind. Why summon heroes from other worlds at all? What true purpose did they serve? Laura smiled and replied, "A fair question, but before I answer, let me tell you about the Demon King you are destined to face. The emergence of Demon Kings in this world is a natural occurrence that happens regularly, and no one can prevent it. They appear with overwhelming strength that no one can resist. Even I cannot predict the form or the true power of the next Demon King. Yet all demon kings of the past have possessed unique skills that made them nearly invincible. The most notorious of these is a skill called bypass. It has two devastating effects. First, it multiplies the malice within them until their very personalities are twisted and corrupted beyond recognition. Second, it grants them absolute immunity to any attack. Shocked, Kelvin exclaimed, "Then how are we supposed to defeat them? Isn't that an unbreakable defense?" Laura answered calmly, "And this is precisely why heroes from other worlds are summoned. You did not come here by chance. Your power carries a unique nature that exists outside the laws of this world. Because of that, it alone can pierce the immunity of the demon kings and bring about their defeat." At that moment, Kelvin realized that this meant his attacks would indeed affect the Demon King, and therefore, he needed intense training to strengthen his skills. Then the ruler said to him, "I will also reveal the fastest methods to you. I shall introduce you to the two fundamental ways to summon a person from another world. The first is direct transfer, which allows you to arrive here without any preamble. The second is summoning their very body, which takes more time, as it modifies the person's form to become someone different." Kelvin then understood that his summoning differed from that of the other heroes, who had used instantaneous transfer, yet caution was essential, for summoning demanded immense magical power and nearly exhausted all of his energy, and it could summon only one individual at a time, though even that single being could bring about monumental changes. Kelvin took a moment to reflect and said to them, "I have a plan. I want to try the summoning myself." That very night, he gathered the team and resolved to use the skill that Laura had bestowed upon him to summon a hero. First, he cancelled Gerard's summoning to enhance his own power, then drank a potion to restore his magical energy, and immediately began the summoning process in earnest. He instructed Laura to unleash all her magical power except for 1% to preserve her life, saying, "I want you to summon only one person, but make them extremely powerful." Indeed, the magic circle activated. A tremendous energy surged through the space, and after a moment of tense anticipation, lightning struck the area. In its midst appeared a small girl, overjoyed at arriving in this world. She introduced herself, saying, "I am Ryo. I cannot believe I have come to this world." Upon realizing that Kelvin had summoned her, her heart swelled with happiness. Tears of gratitude streamed down her face, and she embraced him, only to lose consciousness later, as the summoning had drained all her energy. Kelvin too fainted, having exhausted his magical power completely. Hours later, Ryo awoke and smiled, realizing her body had fully healed from all the ailments she had suffered. At first, she thought she had just been released from a hospital, but she soon discovered that the summoning had cured every disease. Overjoyed, she ran through the garden, and Kelvin spoke with her, soothing her excitement, and all was well as the day drew to a close. The following day, they ventured into a distant forest, having heard of Demas's presence there. Kelvin, driven by curiosity, wished to explore, and unusually, he brought along his servants, Eli and his daughter Luca, who were puzzled by their presence. He explained, "I brought you to enhance your abilities. I have stationed 2 boys to guard the palace, but should any danger arise, you would be at a disadvantage due to your current weakness. I only wish to strengthen you, nothing more. Do not worry, you will remain here in front of Demas, and my sister Ryo will stay with you." Kelvin then used his experience-sharing skill, explaining its mechanism, while Eli and his daughter looked confused. Laura clarified, "Experience sharing ensures that any monster Kelvin or the team defeats distributes its points among the team members. There is nothing to fear." Indeed, as the team battled the forest monsters, with each encounter, the levels of Ryo and the servants rose dramatically. Ryo was astonished by the rapid increase in her statistics, as were the servants. Suddenly, Evil informed Kelvin that a shadow wolf was approaching. He instructed her to let him handle it, and spoke with Ryo about her feelings toward dogs. She admitted she had never touched one before, making Kelvin laugh. The shadow wolf then appeared. Approaching it, he instructed Laura to protect the servants and used his pressure skill to tame the wolf, integrating it into the team. Joy erupted among them as they watched the wolf become a loyal dog. Days passed swiftly, and Evil realized that the adventurer team was coming to the forest, surprised by the unusual crowd. As normally the forest remained empty, Kelvin assured them they were merely exploring. Soon, they encountered Ord, who was delighted to see him and asked why he was there. Kelvin smiled and replied, "Nothing important, just a little excursion. And now, tell us, what brings you here? It is rare to see people in this forest, and survival here is difficult. difficult. Ord explained that his team had come to attempt promotion to rank B, and they needed to kill a set number of forest monsters within the time limit. As they began the trial, Gerard, Sarah, and Clodo arrived and questioned Kelvin about the urgency. He explained their mission. They had a certain number of monsters to defeat within the allotted time. Anxiety gripped them, but Kelvin realized the team had already caused considerable chaos. Indeed, Evil discovered that all the forest monsters had been slain, leaving nothing alive. Shocked, the group had no choice but to approach Ord and apologize for Gerard and Sarah's disruption of the trial. Ord, understanding and calm, reassured them, saying, "It's all right. Leo will recognize the strength of your group, and truly you deserve to attempt the Rank S examination as well." Kelvin was amazed by his comprehension and thanked him for his patience, and then they were allowed to proceed. The day concluded on that note. The next day, our hero Kelvin set out with his team, riding in a carriage heading toward the southern city of Gaon. Their goal was to meet the elves who resided in the surrounding forest. During the journey, Ifil spoke. "I feel as if I have been here before. There must be ancient bonds between me and this place." Kelvin answered her, "That is because you are half-elf, and the bond runs deeply within you." Sarah was equally surprised, for she knew the elves were supposed to live in the western continent. Laura, filled with excitement, smiled as she explained, "More than a century ago, some elves migrated from the western continent. They now live under the protection of the city of Gaon. And by the way, our team is heading to the Elven village at Leo's request. We learned that a certain group is trying to interfere in the matter of the Black Wind, seeking to protect their criminals, and we must stop them by any means necessary." Kelvin then revealed that conflicts between Tresen and Gaon had been increasing recently, and that slave exploitation was also on the rise due to the political instability in Tresen, making the possibility of war or an attack on any nation much greater. At that moment, Kelvin received a letter from Leo, king of the beasts of Gaon. The letter invited him to meet personally, declaring that his promotion exam to rank S would be conducted there. Thus, Kelvin understood the true reason behind their journey to the Elven village. As they were still speaking, an arrow struck their fortress. They quickly realized it had been shot by the elves themselves, who were wary of outsiders. Without hesitation, Kelvin presented Leo's letter. Once the elves read it, they were convinced of his words. Soon after, their leader, Neil, arrived and apologized to Kelvin for the actions of some of his kin. Kelvin replied, "Yes, the king mentioned you in his letter." But Neil froze in shock the moment his eyes fell upon Ifil. "Lomil, how are you still alive? I searched for you endlessly." They then went together to Neil's home to continue their conversation. Once inside, Neil began recounting the full story from the very beginning, explaining that Lomil had been cursed by the Fire Dragon King and enslaved since childhood. Kelvin urged him to tell them more, believing that Lomil could be the key to uncovering Ifil's origins. Neil began his tale. 20 years ago, we lived in peace and safety until the fire dragon appeared, acting under the command of one of the dragon kings. Though the kings captured him, he demanded we hand over the elves who had insulted him, threatening to burn the entire village to ashes. His fury was so great that half of our people were slaughtered without even knowing why. Then Lomil appeared, standing before the dragon with defiance, pleading, "Please direct your anger toward me. I beg you, spare the rest of the villagers. Take me instead." The fire dragon king replied, "You are not the elf I seek, but if you become my bride, I will forgive the insults I endured." Lomil agreed and left with him, but before her departure, she gave us a pendant. Years later, however, her body was discovered in the forest, and none of us knew what had truly happened. Fearing the Fire Dragon King's return, we fled the western continent and sought refuge in the lands we now call home. Kelvin and the others realized how much Ifil resembled Lomil. Sarah asked her softly, "Does this mean Lomil could be your mother?" Gerard also confirmed that possibility, suggesting that Ifil might be Lomil's daughter, with the Fire Dragon King as her father. But Laura immediately interjected, "That is impossible. Half-elves are always born from a human and an elf, and the blood of dragons is far too powerful. Such a union cannot happen." Kelvin responded firmly, "Yes, it may be unlikely, but it is still possible." Neil was weighed down with sorrow, regretting that he could not help Ifil, yet Ifil replied with warmth, "Thank you. It is true I remember nothing of my parents, but regardless, I am fine now. No matter what happened in the past, I will remain strong. I have many friends, and thanks to Kelvin, I became part of a family that I love dearly and will protect with all my heart." Neil's eyes shone with joy at her words, while Sarah and Ryan rushed forward to embrace Eiffel, celebrating her strength and the bonds that united them. After that, they began to discuss the reason they had come to the village. We learned that King Leo had informed them of a new type of monster that had abducted one of the elves. The king had also placed a barrier upon the trees of the forest, a barrier that disrupted one's sense of direction. Yet strangely, the monsters knew the exact location of the village. Kelvin realized at once that someone had used a skill capable of nullifying the barrier's effect. With determination, he declared, "We must confront them by any means necessary." Neil agreed immediately, replying, "Of course, we'll find a way." That very night, a group of humans appeared, accompanied by monsters. One of the soldiers turned to his commander and said, "The troops of Gaon have vanished. It seems they fled in terror from the demon beast mixed army." The commander replied, "The leader's plan is ready for its most crucial phase." Suddenly, as they spoke, one soldier was pierced by an arrow and fell dead, followed swiftly by another. Shock overtook the commander, for he had never expected an attack here, so far from the elven village. But the arrows did not cease. Every moment, another soldier fell. Terrified, the commander shouted, "Take cover behind the barriers." The source of the arrows was none other than Eiffel, standing with Kelvin in the distance, firing under his command as their counterattack began. Meanwhile, in his tent, the deputy commander sat leisurely, sipping tea without a care, until a soldier rushed in breathlessly. "We have been attacked by an unknown enemy. The 4th unit has been annihilated, and the battalion commander captured," the deputy commander demanded in shock. "If not Gaon soldiers, then who?" The soldier answered, "They are not soldiers. They are a party of adventurers. 3 young women and a shadow wolf. Their strength is overwhelming. Even B-rank monsters cannot withstand them. The 5th unit is fighting them now, but they are nearly at our camp." Enraged, the commander unleashed his secret weapon, summoning the Colossal Lord. Mill commanded Ryan and Alex to bring it down. Ryan dashed forward, leapt upon its massive body, and drove her blade against it, but the sword shattered against its hardened flesh, and with a single blow, the giant hurled her away. Refusing to yield, she returned with renewed fury, armed with 2 new swords from Clotho, while Alex joined her, wielding his own blade. Together they struck with lightning, forcing the giant down, yet it did not die. Instead, it transformed into a blazing fire demon of even greater power. But Ryan, far from retreating, grew angrier still, and with one final decisive strike, she ended it with ease. Elsewhere, a mysterious figure appeared with his men. Kelvin's eyes lit with excitement when he recognized him. It was the commander, Clown. The moment Clown's gaze fell upon Eiffel, he smirked and said, "You are beautiful. I want you to become my slave." Then he unleashed a strange power from his eyes to bend her will, but Kelvin intervened, countering with his magic. Clown scoffed, "Do you really think you can fight the captain of the Magic Knights of Trissan? Fool." But Kelvin only smiled, activating his appraisal eye, revealing that Clown too was a summoned from another world. Clown's expression twisted in surprise. "You are summoned as well?" Kelvin ordered Eiffel to descend from the tower at once, and then unleashed a mighty wind spell, blasting Clown and his soldiers, before forging 4 colossal spears and hurling them. But Clown repelled them with his whirling barrier. Impenetrable to any spell, Kelvin only laughed. His foe was indeed strong, and his excitement grew. Then Kelvin noticed something grave. The soldiers' eyes were bewitched, proof that Clown had them under control. Suddenly a strike pierced Clown's barrier. The one who launched it was Eiffel. At the same time, Kelvin conjured 4 golem doubles to clash with the enchanted soldiers, but commanded them not to kill, only to break the spell upon them. Thus began a fierce battle, Kelvin against Clown, 1-on-1. Clown thrust his spear, and the two collided in midair, exchanging blow after blow in a dazzling storm of combat. Balance held until Clown unleashed a barrage of spells, forcing Kelvin to dodge. But the spells veered toward the young women fighting the golems. Kelvin roared in anger, "Your soldiers will be struck." But Clown only laughed. "What does it matter? If they die, I have plenty more. The power I gained after coming to this world lets me do as I please. In my old world, I could never enjoy myself like this." Kelvin's fury boiled over. "Pathetic. Prepare yourself, for I will crush you now." They clashed once more, power against power, and Kelvin cut across Clown's face, drawing blood. Clown shrieked with rage, while Kelvin, ever more elated, poured his fighting spirit into Clotho. Driven mad, Clown unleashed his devastating spell, scorching all in the area. Yet Kelvin answered by drawing forth Clotho's evolved spirit, channeling it into a new incantation, tearing through Clown's magic and shattering it. He was about to deliver the finishing blow when suddenly, before him appeared a man from the shadows holding a sacred idol. He declared, "I am the mastermind behind the assault on the Elven village. Prepare yourself, Black Sorcerer." And then he vanished. With their withdrawal, the heroes secured the Elven village. Yet in secret, Vice seized Clown, carried him away, healed his wounds, bound him, and said coldly, "We will drown you in cursed weapons." Then they struck him mercilessly. Back in the Elven village, a grand celebration was held. Kelvin gifted Eiffel the pendant that had belonged to her mother, and she was overcome with joy. Then a small Elven girl ran to him, embraced him, and thanked him for saving the village. But the shocking truth was revealed. This child was none other than Leo, Queen of the Gaon Beasts. With a gentle smile, she told Kelvin, "Congratulations, you have been promoted to rank S. In 4 days, we will hold the official ceremony for your promotion, where you will join the other rank S adventurers. Prepare yourself, for the battles will be extraordinary." And as always, Kelvin erupted in maniacal laughter, thrilled by the promise of the coming fights. Thus the tale came to its end. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us which anime you want summarized next. Farewell. A group of humans appeared, accompanied by monsters. One of the soldiers turned to his commander and said, "The troops of Gaon have vanished. It seems they fled in terror from the demon beast mixed army." The commander replied, "The leader's plan is ready for its most crucial phase." Suddenly, as they spoke, one soldier was pierced by an arrow and fell dead, followed swiftly by another. Shock overtook the commander, for he had never expected an attack here, so far from the Elven village. But the arrows did not cease. Every moment another soldier fell. Terrified, the commander shouted, "Take cover behind the barriers." The source of the arrows was none other than Eiffel, standing with Kelvin in the distance, firing under his command as their counterattack began. Meanwhile, in his tent, the deputy commander sat leisurely, sipping tea without a care, until a soldier rushed in breathlessly. "We have been attacked by an unknown enemy. The 4th unit has been annihilated, and the battalion commander captured," the deputy commander demanded in shock. "If not Gaon soldiers, then who?" The soldier answered, "They are not soldiers. They are a party of adventurers. 3 young women and a shadow wolf. Their strength is overwhelming. Even B-rank monsters cannot withstand them. The 5th unit is fighting them now, but they are nearly at our camp." Enraged, the commander unleashed his secret weapon, summoning the Colossal Lord. Mill commanded Ryan and Alex to bring it down. Ryan dashed forward, leapt upon its massive body, and drove her blade against it, but the sword shattered against its hardened flesh, and with a single blow, the giant hurled her away. Refusing to yield, she returned with renewed fury, armed with 2 new swords from Clotho, while Alex joined her, wielding his own blade. Together they struck with lightning, forcing the giant down. Yet it did not die. Instead, it transformed into a blazing fire demon of even greater power. But Ryan, far from retreating, grew angrier still, and with one final decisive strike, she ended it with ease. Elsewhere, a mysterious figure appeared with his men. Kelvin's eyes lit with excitement when he recognized him. It was the commander, Clown. The moment Clown's gaze fell upon Eiffel, he smirked and said, "You are beautiful. I want you to become my slave." Then he unleashed a strange power from his eyes to bend her will, but Kelvin intervened, countering with his magic. Clown scoffed, "Do you really think you can fight the captain of the Magic Knights of Trissan? Fool." But Kelvin only smiled, activating his appraisal eye, revealing that Clown too was a summoned from another world. Clown's expression twisted in surprise. "You are summoned as well?" Kelvin ordered Eiffel to descend from the tower at once, and then unleashed a mighty wind spell, blasting Clown and his soldiers, before forging 4 colossal spears and hurling them. But Clown repelled them with his whirling barrier. Impenetrable to any spell, Kelvin only laughed. His foe was indeed strong, and his excitement grew. Then Kelvin noticed something grave. The soldiers' eyes were bewitched, proof that Clown had them under control. Suddenly a strike pierced Clown's barrier. The one who launched it was Eiffel. At the same time, Kelvin conjured 4 golem doubles to clash with the enchanted soldiers, but commanded them not to kill, only to break the spell upon them. Thus began a fierce battle, Kelvin against Clown, one-on-one. Clown thrust his spear, and the two collided in midair, exchanging blow after blow in a dazzling storm of combat. Balance held until Clown unleashed a barrage of spells, forcing Kelvin to dodge. But the spells veered toward the young women fighting the golems. Kelvin roared in anger, "Your soldiers will be struck." But Clown only laughed. What does it matter? If they die, I have plenty more. The power I gained after coming to this world lets me do as I please. In my old world, I could never enjoy myself like this. Kelvin's fury boiled over. Pathetic. Prepare yourself, for I will crush you now. They clashed once more, power against power, and Kelvin cut across Clown's face, drawing blood. Clown shrieked with rage, while Kelvin, ever more elated, poured his fighting spirit into Clotho. Driven mad, Clown unleashed his devastating spell, scorching all in the area. Yet Kelvin answered by drawing forth Clotho's evolved spirit, channeling it into a new incantation, tearing through Clown's magic and shattering it. He was about to deliver the finishing blow when suddenly, before him appeared a man from the shadows holding a sacred idol. He declared, "I am the mastermind behind the assault on the Elven village. Prepare yourself, Black Sorcerer." And then he vanished. With their withdrawal, the heroes secured the Elven village. Yet in secret, Vice seized Clown, carried him away, healed his wounds, bound him, and said coldly, "We will drown you in cursed weapons." Then they struck him mercilessly. Back in the Elven village, a grand celebration was held. Kelvin gifted Ethel the pendant that had belonged to her mother, and she was overcome with joy. Then a small Elven girl ran to him, embraced him, and thanked him for saving the village. But the shocking truth was revealed. This child was none other than Leo, Queen of the Gaon Beasts. With a gentle smile, she told Kelvin, "Congratulations, you have been promoted to rank S. In 4 days, we will hold the official ceremony for your promotion, where you will join the other rank S adventurers. Prepare yourself, for the battles will be extraordinary." And as always, Kelvin erupted in maniacal laughter, thrilled by the promise of the coming fights. Thus, the tale came to its end. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us which anime you want summarized next. Farewell.